Welcome to Digiburst, guys. Today I want to showcase the deck that I took to Ultimate Cup Oceania in March and how it actually got second place, and argue why you should be considering this deck with the new regionals coming up for April and May. Let's jump right into the deck profile before I go into my argument. Starting off with the eggs, we've got 4 of the Argamon and 1 of the Gummy. You definitely want 5 of them so you can roll into the Mimi for the late stage of the game, definitely seeing that Gummymon. Argamon is of course the best egg for it because you will be spending your guys super early in the game in order to get off many of the free play effects. And then if your opponent doesn't instantly react to your guy being suspended in that turn 2, then you will just be reaping free memory off the Argamon, which is super nice. We'll jump into the rookies. We've got 4 of the Palmon, best searcher for the whole deck, grabs pretty much everything you can want. 4 of the Suspending Pumu, super solid for removal, basically your main form of facilitating removal for the Hydramon, but also running cards over with the Bloomlord. 3 of the Floodgate Pumu. This one was really good for the mirror match, but also for countering Jerry's, which normally play out Leomons in the Old Force matchup, and of course Mervamon in the purple matchup, because Mervamon would normally play guys by effects, and this would stop that. We got 2 of the Palmon with plus 2k for attacking a guy. You normally play much more of these to counter Black War Grey in the Nationals case, but of course with the restrictions on color, that came up a lot less often, so you reduced that down to 2, but still had a pretty, but you still need to run a couple of them, specifically to counter Black War Grey because it has such a bad matchup against Black War Grey, which was considering my only loss for that format. So yeah, pretty solid. And the last rookie is Mushroomon. Mushroomon was super good in the late stage of the game. You basically want to hold it until you want to go super wide to counter their board, or build such a board that they can't compete against it. That 2 cost is super good to hard play, and then get a lot of benefit from Digisorption, or just get free memory by having it suspended through an effect. So super good being 2 cost, and you only need to run 1 of them because it is a late game tool to facilitate that super wide board or break boards. So super good for that. We'll go into the champions. 4 of the Sunflowmon. This Sunflowmon was actually the MVP of the entire tournament because it was so good in creating that super early push to go super wide, and also choking them on 1 memory if they choke you on 1 to counter choke. And then if you're able to set up like something like this, and then pass turn like this, you're able to, or more so like this, you're able to, if your opponent can't immediately respond to this, you're going to get free memory off the Argamon. You're already going super, you've already got 2 bodies on the board to start going wide into your Bloomlord or the Hydramon, that early game pressure is really strong to start amassing a really wide board or start threatening their security with a Bloomlord. So that's really solid like that. We've also got 4 of the Red Veggie and 4 of the Weirdmon, just because they are vegetables, and they are super low play cost, being 3k, and only 1 cost Evo, just really solid all-rounder, pretty generic stuff for Bloomlord. On to the Ultimates. 4 of the Ajanamon. Ajanamon is usually people's favorite for on-play effects, but I was actually finding Sunflowmon much better for the early game pushes, but Ajanamon is also really nice. There was some matchups that were trying to like de-digivolve guys. There was a Dark Knight player I played against who de-digivolved one of my Bloomlords because it was threatening them. I just turned back into Jada and I just got free on-play effects for the Jada. It was really, really solid. But basically, if you were to go into Mushroomon red veggie, and then end on a Jada. Say you're going second and you just push out something like that. Or you went first and this is turn 2 and did something like that. If you push that on the board, the opponent has to immediately answer this. Otherwise, you're going to start going super wide, playing guys with the Digimon, and you're already going to set up a second rookie in the rear here, like this, on the next turn, so that you have a next push up to counter whatever they bring out. So getting that early game pressure was super strong for this deck, especially with only 1 cost Evos to go into the Hydra very easily. So that was really strong for that. Having that early game pressure in a kind of build a stack format that was Ultimate Cup was what gave this deck a very strong edge over the other decks. The other ultimates, we've got 2 of the Cherrymon, 2 of the Bloomlord, and 1 of the Agumon. Agumon was super good to make super wide boards that were suspended because of that inherent effect. So that was really nice. It wasn't a vegetable, so there was some sort of anti-synergy there, but the inherent effect to play guys was actually a lot more important that I found. And of course, Digisorption is just really broken to scale up into your megas very quickly. And of course, suspending your guys at will is very, very strong. One particular method that I use to theorize for this deck is building champions, basically. If you're able to set up champions, you're able to suspend at will by going into your Digisorptions. And then by suspending at will, you can easily go into your megas that are already suspended to reap free memory off their memory gain effects, and then pop off effects that would either suspend and remove their opponent's guys or punch through them with the Bloomlord Humu combo. So that was really an important mindset for me to put into in order to just make champions. And if you make champions, you can be able to suspend at will. Suspending at will is an incredibly important strategy for this deck in order to get that free memory off, get that removal, get that easy fast punches. So yeah, that's what I think led me to victory, and then going into the champions, of course. So going into the megas, we got the 4 of the Bloomlord and then 3 of the Hydra. No shenanigans here, just very simple stuff. 4 Bloomlord for that really hard pressure in the early game, and then just 3 of the Hydra to act as your shield, basically sword and shield, to defensively react to your opponent's board. Or you can just set up a really wide board with a Hydramon and force turn passes if your opponent tries to swing. So really solid there. With the Tamers, just 2 Mimi. 2 Mimi, nothing really else to it. Options, 3 Memory Boost, 2 Samadhi Santi, and then 1 Hidden Potential. Samadhi Santi, really good to suspend your opponent's guys, removing threats, punch over things. It's just really solid stuff. 3 Memories, really good for consistency. Really good to make a passive turn to set up your big pushes for later on, especially if you don't quite have pieces. And of course, Green Memory Boost can help with pieces. And then last card, Hidden Potential, is just really, really broken. So that's the deck that I took to Ultimate Cup and take second place with. I was really satisfied with what I actually did with the deck, and really satisfied with the results. Considering that my only loss was to the champion of the whole thing, who was playing a deck that directly counters mine, being the black, war, grey, multicolor mess that it was with Deltamon. It's actually a really creative build that I'm actually really excited that the opponent actually took around. Onto the argument for why you should play this in regionals. Well, the main deck that stopped this deck from competing well in nationals was Black War Greymon, because Black War Greymon has so many popping effects against small dudes. And with the recent ban list hitting the Greymon X antibody, I think there'll be a lot fewer of those guys running around in the regionals. And without that main competitor around to compete against the Bloomlord, I think we'll see a lot more dominance that the Bloomlord can take, especially against decks that take a little bit more time and might not threaten the wider board in the earlier stages. I see a lot of players switching from Black or Grey into Cross, and Cross does not deal well with Bloomlord. Going super wide with Sunflows and Arjanimons, Cross has a really hard time to deal with them because they have very few cards that actually remove them. And if you're able to stick a Bloomlord that they don't remove, you can easily just kill them on the next turn. Another card that directly counters the Cross matchup is the Floodgate Pumu, of course, because they can't play Digimon through the Tamer effects if this guy is on the board. And also some Cross decks are running the Merva variant, which plays Cross Digimon from the trash once the Merva is played. And so of course this will stop the Mervamon from playing guys from the trash. Super solid. Other decks that people might gravitate to once with the hit to Black or Grey is always reliable Garurumon. This deck really counters Garurumon really well, with the Hydramon forcing the memory gain and then potentially a turn pass. And of course Cherrymon stopping the early cheat punches with the Garurumon and Garurumon X. And then the last deck that I see on the radar that people might still be going to is Grandis. Grandis still has a pretty solid matchup against Bloomlord, because if they're able to suspend guys, they can just run through and pierce them, and of course OTK from there. Except if you're able to stick a Hydramon, whatever they suspend, you'll still be gaining the memory once they swing, because, you know, when they suspend a guy, the battle won't occur until after Hydramon will get the effect off. So if you're able to set up a really wide board, they can't really contest it with the Grandis, because you will simply gain so much memory you'll force the turn pass, and they won't be able to OTK. So I see those three decks as the main decks to consider for Ultimate Cup. So if you're able to counter the strongest decks that people will be gravitating to, you'll be in a really solid position to play well and compete well in the regionals. And that's pretty much why I suggest playing Bloomlord or Bloomlord/Hydra. It'll take a lot of playtesting and knowledge in order to wrap your head around it. It is quite a skill-intensive deck, but it is, I think, very rewarding. It's something that will get you there for the regionals. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.